Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia dies, Donald Trump and the Pope have a clash of words, and Apple and the government go head-to-head in court. This is ATV News, and I'm Leila Nasser.
And I'm Adina Marx.
Sweden's Volvo Cars says it's recalling over 55,000 cars in 40 markets because of faulty software. The software is known to briefly shut down the engine and electric system while driving. Chinese company Geely Holding bought the Volvo brand in 2010.
Nevada and South Carolina had their primaries on Saturday. The race for the Republicans in South Carolina seems to be a race for second place, with Donald Trump leading very far in the polls. Former Governor Jeb Bush seems to have staked a lot of his campaign's effort on South Carolina, including having his brother, President George W. Bush, flown in. The former president had before remained away from any campaign. Let's go to Casey Wexler to learn about the Darkening's teach-in.
The Darkening recently held its annual teach-in, an all-day event featuring workshops on allyship, white privilege, the mono-minority myth, the intersectionality between LGBTQ+ and blackness, race and mental health issues, policies that account for oppression, and artistic self-care.
The Darkening's Teach-In is an annual event that we hold, and we focus on race and its intersects, and different topics surrounding race and structural racism and institution, like all of that stuff, etc. And we try to really hone in on the different aspects that we don't get time to talk about every single day as we're going through it. So we take this one day a year, and we really just deconstruct different things in the media that we've seen, different topics and issues that are really important to now, and also things that we're not talking about enough in this movement.
This is the second annual teach-in the Darkening has held, and the event has grown considerably since last year.
I think this year's we have a lot more people, a lot more people outside of AU. I think last year most of the people were professors and students, which is great. But we've also been able to bring a lot more outside perspectives and activists in the area and even in the nation here and united to talk about these issues, which is really amazing.
The teach-in was well received by many of these outside perspectives, including Janessa Robinson, who helped lead the workshop on artistic self-care.
I think it went well. I think we had a pretty good group. I think people were very engaged and very interested to see how other people kind of deal with similar issues. I think once you start to kind of pick up the work of activism, that you do so obviously from a place where you feel like you're invested both in your own future but other people's futures, and almost kind of not realizing the weight that you're going to eventually feel by continually doing the work. So sometimes it kind of hits you like a ton of bricks. And so without having these conversations, a lot of people, I think, sometimes can be unprepared for those things. So by being able to engage in these conversations and having different methods and mediums to engage in self-care, and including artistic methods and including people with different life experiences and limited resources and access to those resources, I think gives people a good perspective on different ways to engage in self-care. So I think it went really well.
For ATV News, I'm Casey Wexler, reporting.
Thanks, Casey. It's really interesting to see such a big event at AU expand into the greater community.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I have a lot of friends that have recently joined the group. I think it's excellent to be an ally and to support that cause.
Thank you. Now we go to the latest in entertainment with Wes Young.
Thanks, Adina. Last weekend, the 58th annual Grammy Awards were held, and Taylor Swift's album 1989 won big as Album of the Year. In her acceptance speech, Swift said that once a person becomes successful, there will be others who will attempt to take credit for that success. Many people have responded to her words, calling it a verbal subtweet at Kanye West in his attempts to undermine her successes in a lyric on his new album, Life of Pablo. The two clashed yet again, disagreeing on whether or not Swift approved of the lyric prior to the album's release. In a video after her speech at the Grammys, West said he still wanted the best for Swift, and went on to argue that people have real problems and don't care about this dispute. Awards season will continue next weekend with the biggest of them all, the 88th Annual Academy Awards. While many fans will be eagerly waiting to see if Leonardo DiCaprio will win his first Oscar statue for his role in The Revenant, many are still planning to boycott the awards ceremony due to the lack of diversity in acting nominations for the second year in a row. It will be interesting to watch how the hashtag #OscarsSoWhite will play out leading up to and during the ceremony on social media. Actor Shia LaBeouf has announced his latest art project, which this time will have him locked in an elevator in Oxford, England for 24 hours. The project, called #Elevate, can be watched online, as LaBeouf is joined by others during his elevator marathon who can ask him anything they'd like while capturing some pictures as well. That's it for the latest in entertainment. Back to you, Leila, in the studio.
Have you heard about the news with Kesha?
Yeah, she's in really a tight situation right now where her producer allegedly sexually assaulted her, but she's kind of stuck because she's on contract. Yeah. A private helicopter with 5 people on board crashed Thursday into Hawaii's Pearl Harbor, leaving a teenage passenger in critical condition. The helicopter crashed about 20 feet offshore, right next to the visitor center's lawn. This is the second major helicopter crash that Oahu has seen this year.
Harper Lee, author of the American classic novel To Kill a Mockingbird, died Friday. She was 89 years old. Her death came as a surprise to her family as she was reportedly in good health. Her characters and poignant story touches hearts all over the country and is still relevant today.
Let's hear more about the latest in sports with David Alessandrini.
Thanks, Leila. American University's swimming and diving teams will head to the Eagle Invitational in Annapolis, Maryland on Wednesday, February 24th after participating in the 2016 Patriot League Swimming and Diving Championships this past weekend. The meet opens Wednesday with a mid-afternoon session of men's diving and a pair of relays beginning at 3:15. Following the Eagle Invitational, the teams will head to the ECAC Championships from Thursday till Sunday. AU will have its top chances in stroke with depth and strength, particularly in backstroke and butterfly events. The American University girls lacrosse team hosts UMBC in a non-conference contest on Wednesday. The Eagles enter the game with an 0-2 record on the season, coming off a hard-fought 16-10 road loss to 15th-ranked Johns Hopkins last week. Sophomore Jennifer DeSimone tallied a career-high 4 goals to lead the Eagles against the Blue Jays, while senior captains Olivia Mangan and Jessica Wachakowski each added 2 goals and an assist. Meanwhile, freshman goalkeeper Fiona Gireer registered a personal best 9 saves versus Johns Hopkins. And for the season, DeSimone leads AU's offense with 5 goals, while Mangan has registered 3 goals and an assist. And the American University women's basketball team is back at home this week when they take on Navy on Wednesday. The ladies enter the game with a 6-19 overall record and are tied for 7th in the Patriot League with a 4-10 mark after dropping a tough 63-59 decision to Lafayette last week. Junior Lauren Chrysler registered her first career double-double, recording 17 points and a career-best 10 rebounds to lead the Eagles against the Leopards, while freshman Cecilia Carl added 11 points and 7 rebounds. For the season, Chrysler leads the Eagles with 9.3 points and 6.4 rebounds per game, while senior Ari Booth adds 7.9 points per game. And meanwhile, sophomore Maria Ledane leads American in assists, averaging 4 per game, including a league-best 5.2 assists per game in Patriot League contests only. Good luck this week, ladies. And the men's basketball team matches up against Navy on Wednesday as well in an important conference matchup. They are sitting in 8th place with 6 league wins and are mathematically out of contention for one of the top 3 spots and the 10th position. If the men win their final 3 games and Navy drops all 3, AU could finish as high as 4th, but Army West Point and Colgate can't win more than 1 game. Jesse Reed, the Salzburg, Pennsylvania native, is averaging 13.8 points per game this league in 8 contests against Lafayette. He'll need to really step it up in these final 3 games to put the team in good contention. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, David. An Arabic version of Saturday Night Live is airing across the Arab world for the first time this weekend, offering a Middle Eastern twist on the hit U.S. comedy show. The writers of Saturday Night Live in Arabic, however, are treading lightly when it comes to political satire, after Egypt's sharply satirical version of The Daily Show had to go off air in 2014. Its star, the country's most popular satirist, Bassem Youssef, said he believed the political climate was no longer conducive to satire.
Let's hear about the latest in finance from Deepak Bhagat.
Thanks, Adina. I'm Deepak Bhagat, and here's what is happening in the world of finance. What a well-performed week for the market. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 183 points this week. However, the Dow Jones was down 21 points on Friday, closing the market at 17,823 points due to the decreasing crude oil prices. The S&P 500 pushed to a high territory for the week, closing at 1,917 points. The Nasdaq was up 31 points on Friday. The Nasdaq was up around 141 points for the week, closing at 4,504. Making headlines this week was Toyota. The automotive giant announced on Thursday it would be recalling 2.9 million SUVs over a seatbelt issue. Toyota says it's possible the belts in both second row window seats could come in contact with metal seat cushion frame in a severe frontal crash. The company says it will add plastic covers to the metal frame at no cost to customers. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Deepak. Now we'll learn about the latest in politics with Christopher Schneider.
Thanks, Leila. I'm Christopher Schneider with ATV Politics. This week, the race for the presidency heated up as South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley endorsed Senator Marco Rubio for the high office. The endorsement came as establishment Republicans battle the current frontrunner, Donald Trump, who continues to lead in the polls by a wide margin. Trump, meanwhile, got into a war of words with Pope Francis after the pontiff said anyone who wishes to build walls rather than bridges is, quote, not Christian. Trump fired back, claiming that the Pope will wish Trump is president when and if ISIS comes for the Vatican. On the Democratic side, current polling suggests that Senator Bernie Sanders is in a virtual tie with former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in Nevada. Sanders and Clinton have also heated things up with more attacks on each other's records and personal beliefs. Also this week, the political ramifications of the sudden and tragic death of former Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia at the age of 79 has rattled Washington, with Democrats claiming that the president should definitely nominate a replacement, as it is his constitutional obligation. Republicans, however, have expressed that President Obama should leave the nomination for the next president. The White House has not ruled out a recess appointment for the seat on the High Court if the Senate refuses to act. The last time a Supreme Court justice was confirmed by the Senate in an election year was Justice Kennedy, who was nominated in late 1987 and confirmed in 1988. The President and the First Lady paid their respects on Friday at the Supreme Court, where thousands of Americans gathered to mourn the death of the judicial icon. Vice President Biden attended Scalia's funeral on Saturday. And finally this week, the White House announced that President Obama will become the first sitting U.S. president to visit Cuba since 1928. President Obama will meet with Cuban President Raul Castro and hopes to bring with him the spirit of democracy and change to the island nation, which just restored diplomatic relations with the United States last year after decades of sour relations resulting from the Cold War. Back to you, Adina, in the studio.
Thanks, Christopher. Apple Incorporated is under fire from the Justice Department this week for failing to cooperate with the San Bernardino shooting investigation. The department had received a court order asking for Apple to create software that would disable some of their security functions so that they could get into the phone of one of the shooters. Apple has refused to comply, stating in a letter to its customers that they fear the creation of this software would compromise all of their customers' security and privacy. Now let's go to Nikita Godbole with the latest in world news.
Thanks, Adina. 6 soldiers were killed and another was wounded Thursday in a roadside bombing that hit an armored military vehicle in southeastern Turkey. Turkey blamed the attack on the PKK, a Kurdish separatist group that Turkey, the United States, and the European Union have declared as a terror organization. Turkey's prime minister said Turkey will not hesitate to use its right to self-defense anytime, anywhere, and in all situations. This week, China has deployed surface-to-air missiles on a disputed island in the South China Sea. Defense has been in place on Woody Island for years, and China denied it was militarizing the island. The news brought up tensions in an already unstable region because China controls the Paracel China, but Taiwan, Vietnam also claim it. Brunei, Malaysia, and the Philippines are also embroiled in disputes with China over islands in the region and their surrounding waters. Finally, the jihadist group Al-Shabaab claimed responsibility for a bomb blast on Somali passenger plane this month, an explosion that authorities said killed only the bomber. The Dalo airplane which took off from Somalia's capital, bound for Djibouti on February 2nd, landed back in Somalia's capital despite the blast, which Somali authorities say was caused by a laptop computer containing a bomb. That's it for me. Let's take it back to the desk.
Things seem very tense all over the world.
Yeah, we have China and then ISIS, of course, bombing left and right. It's really contentious. 2 New York City police officers were injured early Saturday during a shootout with 34-year-old gunmen. The suspect, Jamal Fumes, was shot multiple times after crashing his car into a police vehicle. He is currently in critical condition at Brookdale Hospital. Both officers are expected to make a full recovery. Let's hear what we have in store for next week's weather with Casey Wexler.
Thanks, Leila. I'm Casey Wexler, and here's your 5-day forecast for this week. On Monday, expect clouds in the sky with a high of 49 and a low of 34. On Tuesday, still no sun yet, with mostly cloudy skies with a high of 46 and a low of 34. Wednesday, expect a couple of showers during the day, with a high of 48 and a low of 41. Thursday, we are expecting some rain showers in the morning, hopefully clearing up in the afternoon with a high of 48 and a low of 31. And on Friday, we will finally have partly cloudy skies with a high of 44 and a low of 27. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Casey. Karl Rove, former senior advisor and deputy chief of staff to President George W. Bush, spoke this past Tuesday here at AU. He talked about his recent book and the election process. He opened by speaking how unique the 2016 election process has already proven to be. He also said in an interview with The Eagle that regardless of how the election pans out, there will be large amounts of dissatisfaction on both sides. Now let's hear from Sarah Kravetz with What's Up AU.
Thanks, Adina. I'm Sarah Kravetz. Join the SOC ambassadors this week in a celebration of SOC Week 2016, an annual tradition held for the purpose of instilling spirit and education in the community. SOC Week is filled with events and activities sponsored by AU's most active and engaging members and mentors. Dr. Seuss Day is on Wednesday, March 2nd, 2016. For this year's Dr. Seuss Day of Service, be sure to volunteer at a local elementary school to promote literacy and a love of learning. Contact the Center for Community Engagement and Service if you're interested in joining. The AU Recreational Sports and Fitness Center is celebrating National Eating Disorders Association this week from February 21st through February 28th. Come recognize what you love about yourself and get the resources to achieve whole body wellness while enjoying a body positive playlist and contributing to the #LoveYourSelfie campaign brought to you by AU Wellness. That's it for What's Up AU. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Sarah. So Founders Day is coming up. Did you buy your tickets?
I have my ticket and I'm very excited. I'm attending with my cast for Titus Andronicus, which will be in next March.
Sounds fantastic. I've never been, but it sounds like it's a lot of fun. Thank you for watching. This has been ATV News. I'm Leila Nasser.
And I'm Adina Marx. Make sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.